The hum of the engines was steady, almost hypnotic. At 30,000 feet above the Atlantic, the world outside was a canvas of endless darkness, occasionally split by the silver glow of moonlight reflecting on scattered clouds. Inside the cabin, the lights were dimmed to a warm haze. Passengers were either dozing with neck pillows, scrolling through movies, or quietly sipping water offered by the attendants moving softly through the aisles. It was the kind of ordinary, uneventful flight that most people prayed for. Smooth, quiet, forgettable. But that illusion shattered in an instant. The intercom crackled, followed by a voice that carried something no passenger wanted to hear: fear. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking." A pause, a tremor in his words. "If there are any trained combat pilots on board, I need you to come forward immediately." For a moment, silence ruled. Then confusion erupted. Heads turned, eyebrows knitted. Some passengers gasped. Others whispered questions to their neighbors. The attendants froze mid-aisle, exchanging nervous glances. Row 10 stirred. A young woman lifted her head, her headphones slipping to her shoulders. She blinked away exhaustion, her mind trying to make sense of the words she had just heard. Combat pilots? On a commercial flight? Her name was Elena Carter, 29 years old. Just another traveler in jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers. To everyone else, she was no different from the hundreds aboard. But hidden beneath that ordinary disguise was a past very few would believe. Elena was once Viper, an Air Force fighter pilot, trained to handle some of the most dangerous skies in the world. 2 years ago, she had walked away after a mission went wrong, horribly wrong. She had survived, but her squadron had not. The guilt had hollowed her out. She'd sworn never to sit in a cockpit again. But fate had other plans. As whispers spread through the cabin, "What's going on? Why does the captain need a pilot?" Elena's pulse thundered in her ears. She wanted to stay seated, invisible. She wanted to pretend she hadn't heard. Yet the captain's desperate tone wasn't the kind that could be ignored. Something was very, very wrong. She unbuckled her seatbelt with trembling fingers. The decision wasn't easy, but instinct pushed her forward. She rose, drawing stares. Passengers murmured, suspicion and hope mixing in their voices. "Is she really? She doesn't look like a pilot. Please, God, let her know what she's doing." Elena ignored them all and made her way down the narrow aisle toward the cockpit. Each step felt like returning to a part of herself she had buried. The cockpit door swung open. What she saw inside tightened her chest. The captain was drenched in sweat, his knuckles white on the controls. His co-pilot lay slumped in his chair, unconscious, his oxygen mask twisted uselessly to one side. Alarms blared from the panels. Red lights flashed. The instruments screamed danger. The captain turned, relief and dread colliding in his eyes. "Please tell me you heard the announcement. I've lost autopilot. Turbulence damaged our systems. Controls are sluggish, and I can't manage this alone much longer. If I black out..." His voice cracked. "We're done." Elena inhaled sharply. She stepped forward, scanning the panel like a surgeon evaluating a patient. Fighter jets and commercial airliners were different beasts, but the principles of flight never left you once they were carved into your bones. "I can do this," she said, more to herself than to him. The captain stared. "Who are you?" Elena met his gaze, her jaw set. "Call sign Viper, U.S. Air Force, retired." She slid into the co-pilot's seat with a calmness she didn't entirely feel. "I'll take it from here." Outside, the storm raged with a ferocity that belonged to nightmares. Lightning slashed across the sky, briefly illuminating the terrified faces of passengers peering out from the cabin. The plane shuddered violently, oxygen masks dropping with a hiss. Screams rose and fell like waves. Elena gripped the yoke, her breathing steadied. This wasn't new. She'd flown through anti-aircraft fire. She'd evaded missiles at supersonic speeds. Compared to those hellish dogfights, this storm was just another enemy to outmaneuver. "Left engine fluctuating," she muttered, adjusting the throttle. "Hydraulics are unstable," the captain warned. "Then we fly it like a wounded bird," she replied, voice firm. The aircraft bucked against her hands, each move demanding absolute precision. A fraction too sharp and the jet would tear apart, too soft and they'd plummet. Her muscles screamed, but she held steady, guiding the massive machine through the chaotic air currents. In the cabin, chaos mixed with fragile hope. Parents clutched children, strangers held hands. A little girl whispered to her sobbing mother, "Is she an angel?" The mother nodded through tears. Minutes dragged into hours. Every second felt stretched thin, painted with the possibility of death. Elena's arms ached, her body trembling under the relentless strain, but she did not break. Her focus was absolute. Keep the plane alive. Finally, through the storm's relentless curtain, a flicker of light appeared. Runway lights. Elena's breath caught. She pressed the radio. "This is Delta 473, former USAF pilot at the controls. Request emergency landing clearance." Static filled the cockpit, followed by the calm, steady voice of an air traffic controller. "Copy that, Viper. You are clear to land. We're with you." The runway grew larger, closer, a lifeline in the darkness, but the storm refused to surrender. Crosswinds slammed the aircraft sideways, dragging it off course. Elena narrowed her world down to three things: the yoke in her hands, the trembling lights ahead, and the beat of her heart. "Steady," she whispered. "Steady." The wheels hit asphalt with a deafening screech. The plane bounced once, then twice. For a terrifying heartbeat, it threatened to veer off the runway. Elena fought back, hands burning as she forced it straight. Reverse thrust roared, metal groaned. The plane rattled, slowed, and finally stopped. Silence. Then, as if a dam had burst, the cabin erupted. Cheers, sobs, applause. Some passengers fell to their knees in prayer. Others hugged strangers. Relief crashed through the air like a second storm, but this one brought life instead of death. Elena slumped back in the seat, hands trembling violently. The captain turned to her, tears streaking his face. "You just saved 300 souls." But Elena only shook her head. "No, they saved me for years." She had carried the weight of failure, the comrades she couldn't save, the missions that haunted her sleep. She had believed she didn't deserve a second chance. But here, in this cockpit, with the lives of strangers in her hands, she had found her purpose again. When she stepped out into the cabin, the sight that greeted her nearly broke her. Passengers rose to their feet, clapping, crying, reaching for her hands. Some whispered prayers of thanks. Others simply stared in awe. The little girl who had called her an angel ran forward, wrapping her tiny arms around Elena's leg. "Thank you, angel," she said softly. Elena's throat tightened. She knelt, hugging the girl back, her tears finally spilling free. In that moment, she understood. Peace doesn't come from hiding. It comes from answering the call when it matters most. And so, the woman who wanted to disappear became the savior of the sky. She didn't seek recognition, medals, or fame. All she wanted was peace, and by saving others, she had finally found it again. Row 10 would never be forgotten, because that was where the angel slept, waiting for the call that would awaken her true self once more. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that heroes can hide in plain sight. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more cinematic stories that reveal the hidden strength inside ordinary people.